So in this segment, we're going to be talking about Boris Johnson allegedly saying the quote, "Let the bodies pile high," and this was over having another lockdown after the second one, I believe, something like that. He said it in October, shortly after agreeing to a second lockdown. That's what happened. So a British minister on Monday flatly denied a report that Prime Minister Boris Johnson said he would rather let the bodies piled high in their thousands than order a third social and economic lockdown to stop coronavirus infection. So there are multiple things to talk about in this video. One of those things is the comment or the alleged comment. Another one is Boris Johnson's defense of the alleged comment. And also who could be the person leaking all the information, the chatty rat. These are things we're going to be discussing a bit in this video. Some of this stuff is speculation, but does a quote like "let the bodies pile high" rather than "order another lockdown" sound like something Boris Johnson wouldn't say? We'll be discussing that as well. So Johnson is facing a new stream of allegations in newspapers about everything from his muddled initial handling of the COVID-19 crisis to questions over who financed the redecoration of his apartment, and we'll be doing that in a separate video talking about that. The Daily Mail cited unidentified sources as saying that in October, shortly after agreeing to a second lockdown, Johnson told a meeting in Downing Street, "No more effing lockdowns, let the bodies pile high in their thousands." This quote has been verified by Robert Peston through other sources. So it was the Daily Mail that originally put out this story. And, the questions we need to ask ourselves are, which minister has connections to the Daily Mail? The answer is Michael Gove. His wife works for them. So Ben Wallace said it's not true. The quote, "let the bodies pile high in their thousands," or and no more lockdowns. I think he denied both of those by the looks of things. We're getting to that sort of comedy chapter now of these gossip stories, unnamed sources by unnamed advisors talking about unnamed events. Look, none of this is serious, but the thing is, this is serious. Because the Daily Mail, as bad as the Daily Mail is, would have to research this stuff because they could get done for defamation over this stuff. It's very unlikely that a Conservative Prime Minister would sue the Daily Mail over defamation, but it's possible. The Daily Mail did not respond. It did not immediately respond for a comment. Opposition leader Starmer said he was astonished to read the newspaper's report. I wouldn't be surprised. Why are you surprised? We'll look through the other stuff that Boris Johnson has said. Keir Starmer saying if Johnson did say those things, he's got to explain it. What do you mean, bruv? You should be calling for his resignation if he did say those things. You asked for Sturgeon to resign for over less. So Johnson did impose the third lockdown in January, though critics say it could have been avoided had he yielded to pressure from senior ministers to make the second lockdown more stringent. Britain has the fifth worst official COVID-19 death toll, with 127,681 deaths after the United States, Brazil, Mexico and India, according to Johns Hopkins University of Medicine. So Boris Johnson did let the bodies pile high before he instituted any proper lockdown, which is just embarrassing from Johnson, to be honest. But, I'm not surprised because he did put economics ahead of people's lives, and then in turn by doing that he made the economic situation worse anyways, because once you delay a lockdown it gets worse. Prime Minister Boris Johnson did make remarks suggesting that bodies could pile high. So Boris Johnson going for the Boo Earns defence here, if anyone doesn't know what the Boo Earns defence is.
Smithers, are they booing me?
No, they're saying Boo Earns. Boo Earns.
Are you saying boo or boo earns?
So that's the defence they're going for, and it's not the best defence, to be honest with you, because he's admitting he said bodies could pile high. And so he said, did he say let the bodies pile high? He's trying to make it a he said, she said situation. But the issue is that, someone's going to have to go public eventually and be the unnamed sources. So, on Monday, the Daily Mail reported that Mr. Johnson said let the bodies pile high in their thousands rather than order a third lockdown. So you can see that, he's trying to argue that I did say bodies could pile high, saying that, if we don't do something, that would be Boris Johnson's, saying that this is what I said, or this is what I meant to say, or whatever. But the Daily Mail reporting that Boris Johnson said, "Let the bodies pile high in their thousands instead of doing another lockdown." The Prime Minister denied making the remarks, adding that lockdowns had worked. Labour leader Starmer said he was astonished. He added everyone would be deeply concerned. Laura Kuenssberg said big concerns about the implications of another lockdown on the economy. Laura Kuenssberg saying Boris Johnson at the time had big concerns about the implications of another lockdown on the economy and non-COVID related health issues. So it does tell you that Boris Johnson really did not want another lockdown. That's what that tells you, that he was concerned about the economy. So what does this tell us? A lot. It's possible Boris Johnson made that comment. It's very possible, considering that there were no cameras or anything like that, and he must have thought there were not many around that would leak the information. But Laura Kuenssberg goes on to say this does take us back to that moment, October, and back to that very serious claims made by some people who were involved in the decision making, including some ministers, that the hesitancy around the second lockdown did cost lives. I mean, they did. It did. So it's very hard to deny it. Ben Wallace, again denying the allegations. You've got here from Pippa, I don't know how to pronounce her name, but she works for the Mirror. She's put out she posted a picture of the story as well. And this is the headline. I don't know which sister got the facelift, but my money would be on her. And also, who cares about this? But Boris Johnson, let the bodies pile high in their thousands. So the Daily Mail is running with this story, front page stuff here, which is big news. We go here to Adam Bienkov, who says that Robert Peston has two sources confirming that Boris Johnson made the bodies pile high comment. But did he say bodies may pile high, or did he say let the bodies pile high in their thousands? Robert Peston does talk about that in the next thing. Also, this is about Libya, where Boris Johnson says they have got the brilliant vision to turn Sirte into the next Dubai. The only thing they've got to do is clear the dead bodies away. So that's a quote from Boris Johnson. There's a few more here. Apparently he said F the families of the 7/7 terror attacks that was in the UK, that happened here in the UK. He also joked that his ventilator scheme could be called Last Gasp, or he made some sort of jokes about Last Gasp when it came to ventilators. Embarrassing stuff from Boris Johnson. And we go to Robbie Peston's article, saying that the charge that these are the claims so far. The charge that the Prime Minister said he would rather see bodies pile high in their thousands than order a third lockdown, as reported in the Daily Mail. The Cabinet Secretary Simon Case believes Cummings may be the chatty rat, which we're going to talk about in a few minutes, and the refurbishment of the Prime Minister's flat, which was originally thought to be funded by Tory party donors. Even though on Friday the Prime Minister said he was paying for it, but in an article somewhere here, let's see if I can find it. Boris Johnson said that any flat revamp donations will be declared, but then they also said that he covered everything. So why are people making donations if you covered all the costs? Very confusing there. So that's another allegation we'll talk about in a separate video. So subscribe for that. So what do we know so far? That Boris Johnson has allegedly said let the bodies pile high in their thousands instead of doing another lockdown after the October one, or Boris Johnson allegedly said bodies could pile high. The Boo Earns defence. Are they saying boo or Boo Earns? I think they're saying boo, pal. So, in respect to the so-called rat that the 30th October leak that a lockdown would be imminently announced, I was texted by a source at 6:30 on that day as follows. I understand that a long COVID meeting between Prime Minister, the Chancellor, so Sunak, Gove and Hancock was held this afternoon. 99% likely there will be a full national lockdown from next Wednesday or Thursday, expected to last until the 1st of December. So this was in October. So we know, and we knew at the time, there were only 4 people in that meeting. Boris Johnson, Chancellor, that's Rishi Sunak, Gove or Matt Hancock. Okay? As it happens, that was all true. Although it would not be confirmed until the following evening after the government frantically scrambled to put flesh on the policy so that it would be announced. So they definitely spoke about it, and someone leaked this information out about this meeting. But Robert Peston is adamant that it was not Dominic Cummings that told him. So according to Robert Peston, saying that I can tell you that the text was not from Cummings or anyone within a mile of him, and the reason I can share that with you without breaching journalistic etiquette is that it should be obvious. if the text had come from Cummings, I would have put the information straight out, since that was the horse's mouth authority on this stuff. So that tells you that if Dominic Cummings texted Robert Peston with any information, Robert Peston would have put it out unequivocally without considering how real or not the information was. That's what that tells you. But it also tells you that, according to Robert Peston, it wasn't Dominic Cummings. Peston saying, I didn't broadcast or write about the lockdown until the following day, when, having spoke with a series of ministers and officials, I was then in a position to disclose in detail the terms and timing of the lockdown. I am certain that the Cabinet Secretary already knows Dominic Cummings wasn't my source, since he has seen the phones of all relevant suspects. So what that tells you is that the Cabinet Secretary probably knows who the rat is, but hasn't announced it. So it could be, as we've mentioned before, the friend of Carrie Simmons, the advisor, I think it's Newman, or it could be someone else entirely, or the Cabinet Secretary actually does have no idea who the source is, which is slightly alarming, seeing as he's checked people's phones, but it's not hard to delete messages. Honestly, guys, it's not hard. So Peston saying, I'm certain the Cabinet Secretary already knows it wasn't Cummings. We mentioned that. Make of that what you will, but the chatty rat who contacted me was not Cummings. So what that tells you is that Boris Johnson went for the wrong guy, and instead of doing Dominic Cummings' strategy, which is to throw a dead cat on the table so that people stop what they're talking about and discuss, what the hell, there's a dead cat on the table, he threw a live dog onto the table, and boy, is this live dog fighting back. So in conclusion, what can we learn from this video? Boris Johnson is alleged to have said, let the bodies pile high in their thousands, rather than going into another third lockdown after the second one. We also know that he delayed the third lockdown, and that the bodies did indeed pile high, because many people had died. The second wave of COVID was, the second wave of COVID was extremely bad for the country, really bad. Like that, I think that wave we're still not recovered from. Or sorry, was it? We had the third wave was the most recent one, wasn't it? Sorry, I'm just getting a bit lost here because we've had so many lockdowns and so many COVID waves. But yeah, I think it was over the winter was extremely bad for the NHS, and it was completely overrun. So what can we learn from this? Boris Johnson clearly does not care about people. We already know this, where he said, once they clear off the dead bodies in parts of Libya, it will be a great place. It will be the next Dubai. We know that he doesn't care. He doesn't care about the victims of 7/7, their families, or anything like that. So did Boris Johnson say those comments? In my opinion, probably. Do we have any indication of who could have leaked it? So Peston said that this person doesn't operate within a mile of Dominic Cummings. So that could rule out Michael Gove. Because Michael Gove and Dominic Cummings were friends. I'm not sure if they still are, but given the tactics used and the fact that the articles went down to the Daily Mail, it could be the case that Gove and Cummings are working together now to do some damage on Boris Johnson, because Michael Gove is a minister without portfolio. So what that means is he doesn't really have a job in the cabinet. He's just there. Probably so Boris can keep an eye on him, to be honest. It could have been Rishi Sunak, but he wasn't that prepared for a second lockdown, given that the furlough scheme came in late. It could have been Matt Hancock in order to force the government to do a lockdown, because he knew the NHS would struggle. But I remember Michael Gove having to do the press rounds after that lockdown was announced, the October one. And so a lot of people thought Michael Gove was the one who leaked the information. So it's possible it was Michael Gove, but whoever leaked this "let the bodies pile up" comment, it's very unclear. It could be Michael Gove, it could be Dominic Cummings. Who knows at this point? But given that Boris Johnson is saying that what he actually said was bodies could pile high, so he's not denying that he said bodies could pile high, but it's about the context around that sentence. Is that what he said, or did he say let the bodies pile high in their thousands? Because that's completely different. Even if he just said let the bodies pile high, that's a very different sentence to bodies could pile high. So yeah, and if we go to the Reuters article, high in their thousands, it's just, this is crazy. I mean, is this the most informative video? It's more speculation than anything, but what it does tell you is there are serious problems within Downing Street right now, and a lot of information is getting out. So we're going to keep looking at what's coming out, because this is this is the mask coming off the government essentially, and that's why it's important, because these are the things that could change people's minds about the Prime Minister, about Number 10, because who are these people that are leaking the information out of Number 10? Who are these people? Because if Boris Johnson did not say that, and he has witnesses that can tell the public he did not say that, then he'll do it. And also, the Daily Mail could be in trouble for publishing a false story. But if Boris Johnson takes no action over this, it either means that he thinks it's going to die down in the press, or he knows it's true, and he knows he can't refute it. That way, he's just going to deny, deflect it for a bit, and it will become yesterday's news. But apparently Dominic Cummings might have recordings of some of these meetings, so it kind of reminds you of Michael Cohen in a lot of ways, that he knew his boss was a snake and decided to make recordings. But who knows at this point? All I know is remember to like, comment, share, subscribe, and hopefully I'll see you in the next one.